Hi, and welcome to the GebBuilt YouTube channel. Today we're going to go through the teardown of a new process 205 transfer case, touted as one of the most bulletproof transfer cases out there. GM used them, Dodge, Ford have used them. I'm not sure who else, maybe International, I don't know, but anyway, they're a very, very tough transfer case. It's all gear drive, very basic. It's a pretty easy rebuild when it comes to technicalities, and no special tools required. I've got my seal kit ready to go. I haven't been able to check bearings yet. May or may not need bearings. I highly doubt it. But yeah, we're going to do the teardown, and then in my next video we'll do the inspection and rebuild of the new Process 205 transfer case. This one, I've already done a video on the twin stick modification. These are the sticks, new shift rail modifications and stuff. So check that video out if you're interested in doing a twin stick mod to your 205. So yeah, we'll get after it here in just a minute. Okay, first thing we're going to take apart is the front output shaft assembly. 1 1/8 nut on the yoke. Should slide off, might have to persuade it just a little bit. Looks like whoever had this last used a little anti-seize on it, which is good. We'll set those aside. Then go straight to the seal carrier, 5/16 bolt, but these have been changed with, so they have a 3/8 head. Oh, it's a 3/8 bolt, so you're going to use probably be a 9/16 head on it. And go easy on that aluminum carrier. Alright. You want to be sure when you put it back together, this oil passage matches up with that oil hole down here. Hopefully you can see that. Between these two bolt holes, there is a small drain back hole, and then here you see this kind of divot in the seal carrier assembly. You'll match those back up. If you need to remember that, you could score the case and the flange here, so you're like with a chisel or something, or a scribe, so you remember how to put it back together. Put those in a pile with front output shaft stuff. Then we'll spin her around here so you can see. Okay, we'll pull the rear bearing retainer from the front output shaft. These haven't been changed, they are a 9/16 head. Yeah, gotta get the bolt out too, don't I, buddy? There's only one way it can go back on. You can see it has this hump right here. It matches up with that. Alright, you're gonna have a bunch of rollers in there. You see them in there? Don't lose those unless you have new ones in your kit, but not too bad of a deal. Just keep track of them, you'll be alright. Okay, spin it back around here, and with a rubber mallet or dead blow, just tap the front output shaft out, slide her out the back, try and bring everything with it. And that's what that looks like. Now we'll pull the front output shaft bearing. There's a snap ring probably get it with just a screwdriver, but if you got snap ring pliers, it's a big help. Try not to deform it. Try and contain it so it doesn't fly off and hit a kid or neighbor's cat. Alright, here's that snap ring. Anytime you have to tap on a bearing, you want to tap on the outside edge of it, not the inner part. As you're doing this, that bearing's liable to fall. Hopefully it falls on, or try and make sure it falls on to something that's going to protect it. Unless you have new bearings, then who cares? Only tapping on the outside of it, not the inside. That'll wear a bearing out or damage it. Landed right on my poly. So there's that. Feels awesome. We'll move to the input shaft. On some of them, you're going to have a flange that looks almost identical to your front output shaft flange seal carrier. This one doesn't, because the seal is inside the adapter. Alright? So we don't have to mess with that until we pull this seal and put the new one in. This is mounted up to an SM465 4-speed. So it has this type of seal and adapter. So nothing to do there. We're going to spin it around and go ahead and pull the output shaft. 3/8 bolts again. One hidden behind the speedometer gear drive. This piece is cast iron, so you don't have to be quite as gentle with it as you do the aluminum pieces. But you still don't want to damage any sealing surface. Got a little bit of weight to it, so be careful as you pull it out. Okay. There's more roller bearings down inside there you want to keep track of. Your input shaft bearing has the same type of snap ring around it. This snap ring's got a little closer gap in it, so it's going to be a little tougher to get started than that first one. About need 3 hands for this one, but then I wouldn't be coordinated enough to use the third hand effectively. Alright. Get the outer snap ring out, get the inner. Now some of them won't have this inner because this will be a female, and that's where I was talking about the other seal flange being in its own flange instead of the adapter assembly. Kind of tough doing it facing the camera, but I do it for the good of the people. Okay, screw that. Alright, get that stout booger out of there. Set it over here with that outer snap ring. Then we're going to pull this shift rail out so our shift fork can drop down and this whole thing will be able to come out. Pull this plug off the top. It's a 3/4 inch. It's got a spring and a ball behind it. As you probably, if you watched my twin stick modification video, you'd have seen that. There's the plug and the spring. Then there's a little bitty ball down in there. And there's the ball. That's your detent ball. Keep those all in order so they go back in the same hole. And then also, if you would have watched the twin stick video, there's a roll pin that holds the shift fork to the shift shaft. I've got about a 3/16 pin punch here. There we go. You can hear the roll pin fall down into the bottom of the case. And go ahead and pull your shift rail out. And that'll let your shift fork fall free in there. Show you. Here's your synchro, your shift fork, and there's your shaft. Just keep everything in order. Alright, now the bearing should slide out. I need to tap it a little bit from the back like we did on the other one. Okay, I'm gonna try to avoid any guesswork. I've got 3 little boys that run around here. Sometimes they're a great help. Other times they're a great help at moving things around. So just in case, where I pulled that shift fork out, I'm gonna put 1 dimple on that boss where it came out, and then 1 dimple on the tab, and then I'll do 2 on this one. I had forgot to show you on the first shift fork removal, there's a freeze plug. It's like a frost plug. Inside here is just a little bitty guy like that. You need to drive that into the case before you can get to the roll pin. Alright, so pull the plug, spring, check ball. Okay, and then drive the freeze plug in. Hear it fall down into the case. Then we'll find that roll pin just like we did on the other one. Okay, let it fall into the case. Then you'll be able to slide out this, hold on to the shift fork inside. And then I always just put that shift fork right back on the same way it came off. Okay. You can see here, this is that torque rod that goes from here up to a bell housing bolt. That broke. I'm going to build a nicer one, probably made out of chromoly. I don't know why they break. I think it's probably because of weak motor and transmission mounts, but they're there for a reason. I always put them back in. I know some guys don't. They don't believe in them and don't believe they're necessary, but I do. Anytime you can take some stress relief off of your actual components, it's a good thing. so that's why GM put it there. So I'm gonna build one to go back that's better. Okay, you got both shift forks and stuff out. I don't know if you can see it in there, but there's what's called the rail pin. Okay, that's all it is a steel pin, rounded on both ends. Ha, I forgot there were two of those. Okay. Again, keep those in order. Now for the idler shaft, got an inch and 5/16 lock nut on it. I've already pre-hammered on this, it's pretty tight. Alright. Take it and its washer off, set it to the side, and pull the back cover off. That is a 1/2-inch socket in this case. Just a flat cover. Okay. And then tap the idler shaft. Use a piece of brass, or you could use a punch in this center dimple. You just don't want to damage the threads on the shaft. Okay, your shaft. Okay, and your idler gears, bearings. Come out that hole. Bearings together. If you're going to reuse them, you want them to go back in the same spot as they came out. Now your case is empty. Grab your roll pin, both roll pins, the thrust washer that was on the back side of your idler shaft, and your little freeze cap. Now it's time to clean up the case and paint it if you want, which I will. Not building a show truck, but I want it to look nice under there for as long as possible. So now it's time to spend some time at the parts washer. I use mineral spirits in mine, and some brake clean on the fine detailed stuff. We're going to scrape gaskets, clean things, inspect bearings, and go from there. Like I said, I'm going to paint this case. So I'll get this disassembly video uploaded, and then an inspection and reassembly video shortly after, hopefully. Here's what I mean by keeping things organized. As I took them out, I kept them in order. My front output shaft disassembly process, just kind of in chronological order as we did it. Rear output, input shaft, idler gears, everything is in the same direction that they go back in, and I'll maintain that throughout the cleaning process too, just so I don't have to research anything or do any guesswork. It just makes things easier on you. Alright, there's the empty shell. We can also remove seals at this time. Be a good idea before you clean everything. Your shift rail seals will come out. That's pretty much it in the case. Front output shaft seal can come out of there. and your input shaft seal can come out of the adapter or the seal housing that we talked about earlier. Okay, I got a little ahead of myself in saying we were done with this assembly. We're going to disassemble the rear output shaft unit here. 1 5/16". Pull that lock nut off. There's a washer. There's a little rubber seal. It's kind of funky looking. That's on your shaft. Pull that off. Should be a new one in your rebuild kit. You're going to have some roller bearings falling out the back as you go through this. It's fine. Just keep track of them. And pull this seal housing off. Mine, once again, has 3/8 headed stainless bolts put in it. I didn't do it. I don't mind them. Okay over there, bud? Typical aluminum seal housing. Bearings there. Also, this contains your transfer case vent. And this one looks like it's a press-in. I've seen some threaded ones. I don't know if that's an aftermarket deal. I am going to thread this with a pipe thread so I can put an elbow or a nipple on there and run a higher vent tube for it. And pull the bearing housing off. And there are all of your roller bearings. For the front end of that, there's some large ones and small ones. We've gotten to the small ones here. You can see them inside here. Just let them come on out. And also your speedometer drive is in there. We're going to pull it. It's going to need a thin-walled 1 1/8" socket. Here's the little outside adapter. And then your actual drive should come out there like that. Keep those together. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the rest of those larger rollers out of there and kind of stick your finger in there and let them fall into your hand and on the ground and on the floor. Just keep track of them. And then the smaller ones, same difference. Okay, we're going to pull this bearing. It's the same type of deal. Outer snap ring, then it'll come out, and your speedometer drive gear is inside there. That'll come out as well. Is your corn dog super duper? No? Mommy brought us out corn dogs. See, when you do stuff like this on your own, instead of hiring it out, you can save money and eat high on the hog. Get good corn dogs. There's the snap ring. Bearing. You're super duper. Again, just tap the outside of the bearing. speedometer drive, and your housing. And this will all get cleaned up. Your rear output shaft assembly. It's probably all the further I'm going to take it apart, but you can take the gear out, that snap ring. So we'll get things cleaned up, start putting things back together.